Get moving. All right, so what's on the docket for the day? We got 2 hours. We got a lot of stuff to do. And right now, we have a RC from the original Transformers that I'm working on this morning. See if I can get that moving over there. So letting that charge. All right, so we started this 2 days ago. This is for one of my clients that wanted to have something like this done. Okay, so he wanted it in this style, very heavy on the blacks and more of just a gray tone to it. How you doing, Jeffrey? Yeah, today's going to be a fun one, so I'm trying to get this knocked out. So I knocked this one was my original. This is already spoken for. This is going out today, or sorry, tomorrow to one of my students. And then this guy right here was the first of two. So he wanted Black Cat in a kimono, so I hooked her up, made her look pretty, gave her those purple pieces, gave her some jewels and whatnot, and then kept the claws and all that kind of good stuff to just keep things like a little normal. Looking back at this, I might put like a little cat down here just to kind of show that she's Black Cat too. So we'll see. Or like a little tattoo right here on her shoulder. I think that might be cool. All those little things you catch on the after part. But we need to get cooking because I am like super late. I wanted to start at 9, but I had to hit the gym this morning, and it's a Thursday. It's midweek, so it's kind of hard to do it too. All right, let me grab this off of here. What's going on, M-Dog?
Power off.
All right. So if I can get through these pencils today, I'll be happy because it'll make my life 20 times easier. I have a roughie. So for all of you that are not familiar with like doing rough drafts, I'm going to show you a simpler way to do it. And if you want to take it, you can. If not, that's up to you. So I use a program called Procreate, and I do all my rough drafts. Like I'm super loose when I do my rough drafts. So this is RC on a spawn cover. This is just one that I had laying around like in my files, so I can kind of get an idea of what she's going to look like. And I'm getting in there, I'm noodling and getting all the little details in place now, so that way it can just look the way it's supposed to. I have to fix her leg because proportionately wise, her body is good, but our legs are not that short. So her leg actually needs to be extended out to here. So I got to get her knee out a little bit. So these are little things that, it's a little harder when you're doing like a robot, even though she's got humanistic traits, like as far as like parts and whatnot. But I just got to make sure that I don't mess that up because it'll jack up a cover real fast. But I'm thinking I can knock this one out, and then I got to jump into doing all of the cards that I haven't had a chance to do. So with all that said, how have you guys been? That's uncovered. We're good there. Any new projects that anybody's working on, or anybody, getting new stuff, anything like that? There we go. See if I can get that over there a little bit. Like that. That'll be perfect. All right, so let's get that time lapse going. And get her up there. Multiple things going on here. So I just need to get things in place. So like her, this is part of the car, like the hood part of her car. And then leg wise, what's going on, Priest? How are you doing today? Welcome to the stream. I do wish I was working on my cards, but that's okay. I'm not mad about that. I will get back to that process in just a little while. Yeah, for anybody that's new here, I'm doing a card set. It's called the Road to 1,000. So I'm doing 1,000 sketch cards and over in under a year, or I'm sorry, in a year's time. And I'm behind. Usually I'm able to do like maybe like 6 to 7 cards a week. Now I have to average 25 in order to hit my goal, so it's a little insane. But summertime actually opens up a little bit more of the time because I don't work, my regular job as much, so I have time. What's going on, Purple Haze? Jetbox, welcome. Just talking about the card series I'm working on and what I got to do to get it done. Yeah, there's a lot of components to making that work. And I will, like I said, during the summertime, it's a little easier. I might use Inktober to get a lot of those things done. Which is very mechanical. Okay. So I've got a lot of moving parts to this lady. Trying to get it close. Now it's not going to be like perfect to what the character looks like, but it's going to be pretty darn close. What's going on, Kendall? Just got an RC that I'm trying to knock down this morning. This was started about on Tuesday, and I wanted to see about getting this all wrapped up today. Think if I can pull this off, I'm going to put her calf right here, and I can kind of foreshorten this a little bit. That way I can kind of keep that piece that I made. Because I don't want to lose that. I like that look for that part of her leg. And then this is going to be her kneecap right here. And then this will be part of her calf. Yeah, I mean, that bishop piece was probably one of my favorite pieces to do. I'm old school in the fact that I loved the look and the characters that they came up with in the 90s. And Bishop was just such a unique character. So when I had a chance to do him, I was just going to go all out. That cover actually was originally supposed to be a Wolverine piece. But I was like, nah, we're going to change this up a little bit. Yeah, did he tell you anything about the series that I'm working on? Like the 1,000 cards at all? Oh, okay. Well, you know what? This would be a good time to show you and anybody else that's doing it. That's checking out the stuff. So let me pull this out really quickly here. Not mess up this cover. So I'm doing 1,000 sketch cards. Let's see if I can zoom this out. Okay. So I'm doing 1,000 sketch cards. Got to get them done in a year. That's my goal I set for myself. It's a very lofty goal. It's kind of a crazy goal, but I think, I'll be able to pull it off. I've done like 700 of these in the past, and I did that in a matter of like 6 months. And they were much bigger. They were probably about double the size of these. So I'm working on the marble set. The goal is to have 10 different categories of characters. So I have Marvel, I've got DC, I've got Image, video games, cartoons, wrestlers, and stuff like that. And in each one of those sets, it has 100 different characters. Tomorrow, I'm putting out a post to find out, should I do DC or should I jump into like another category? So, I mean, you got Blade, Cable, Cannonball, And these are just the ones that I haven't had a chance to color yet. You know, you got Captain Marvel way over here, not off camera. Carnage, you got Cloak, got some Colossus over there. You know, topical because Cyclops, the day the trailer came out, did Cyclops. Got Dagger, Draken, got some Daredevil, Shadowhawk. And of course, we got to have Deadpool in there. He hasn't gotten taken yet, which is kind of shocking. I'm surprised nobody's bought him up. No, I have an independent category, and that's all the Image category. Now, I'm going to probably pull in some characters that I haven't done. Like, I want to do the Crow. He's one of my favorite ones to do. I want to do... I'm trying to think of that one character. There's a character called, I think her name's Death. I want to do her. I want to do Preacher, those kind of things. So I'm working down the road. But if there's characters I don't have on the list, I'm not stopping anybody from saying, hey, can you do this character? Because I've done a lot of them that are not on my list. When I first started off this whole thing, literally the day that I really got cooking, a guy came in and he's like, hey, can I get this and this character? It started out as 2, and it ended up being 25 cards, and it had a lot of like Captain Jack Sparrow, it had a person from Hook, had a bunch of people from Cars, all that kind of good stuff. So these are just some of them. Like I got Nick Fury there. I mean, like I said, old school. There's Forge right there. It's the first time I got a chance to do Forge. First time I got to do Reed Richards' son. Did a really, what I think is a good piece for Galactus. One of my favorites, Gambit. And then you got to have Ghost Rider right there. Got the Guardian up here. That's Goliath. Green Goblin. This guy I'm going to redo. I'm not really happy with him. He's from Alpha Flight. And then you got Clint, the Hawkeye, and then you have Kate Bishop. Hercules from that new, Thor, God and Thunder, or Love and Thunder. Got a Howard the Duck. Got some Hulk. Got a little bit of Johnny Storm. And nice to go. Like right next to each other, Johnny Storm and Iceman right next to each other is perfect. Got Iron Fist, Iron Heart. Can't have a list without Iron Man in there. Got some Jubilee. Got to have the Juggernaut. This one was probably my hardest one. This was Kazar. And then got to go with the Kraven. Even though the movie is horrible, I still had to make him a good character because Kraven, like in the comics, is dope. And yes, the Crow, I don't care what anybody says, that first Crow with Brandon Lee, still to this day is one of my favorite movies, and it has one of the best fight scenes, especially when Brandon Lee takes the sword out and he's like, you're all going to die. You know, that was perfect. So, and then you got Punisher if you're a Punisher fan. And then it ends right here. This is my last 2 cards that I did. So I have Silver Surfer and Spider-Man. And then literally I think it's 7 or 8 cards left for this series. So like I said, next week I should be done with this because I have all the mock-ups for them, and all I got to do is just draw them out and color them. Once they're drawn out, they're pretty easy to color. The drawing process is slow. Are there... Well, the thing is that with these characters, not that I'm going to take anything away from any of the artists that did them before me, but there's specific things that you got to keep that are authentic to those characters. And certain artists really capture those really well. And I try to grab those components that I like the most, and I put them in each one of the designs that I do. And that's hard. That is a very hard thing to pull off. Are there any characters that you might want to see that maybe I haven't listed? or maybe because you haven't had a chance to see the list, but are there any characters that you might want to see? One of the people that was on here the other day, this girl named Kay, she's usually on my show. Um, she suggested the Rocketeer. Let's be honest, there's no collection of cards that you could ever do that don't include the Ninja Turtles. Like that's like a no. That's like a no. You got to have it, especially if you're anybody that grew up from late '80s to, I would say, even like late '90s. Like you cannot have a collection without having done a Ninja Turtle. I think it's kind of wrong to not have that. All right, I think I got pretty much all of her pieces done. I'm going to go up here and work on the details. Here. Yeah, I got to go. Like my Ninja Turtles, I've done them so many different ways. I just love them. My goal is to do the Ronin one. Look, I used to, I have never seen all of the turtles in their entirety. Like I've not seen the whole series in its entirety because they would come on in the morning, and because I had to go so far away for school, like my school is 45 minutes away, I would never get to see the whole series. So I've to this day, I have never seen the the original turtles in its entirety ever. And we're talking what, 30 plus years later? And we have all the technology that we have. I still have never seen the whole thing. Same thing with gargoyles. And I have Disney Plus. I just never make the time to watch it. Yeah, I did a Last Ronin piece for somebody. Oh, dude, when I show you this thing is epic. Let me see if I can pull it up here. I know I have a picture of it. I don't. Let's see. Did I send it to him? I know I did it like last April. This thing was. I love this piece. Where is it? You know, you do so many drawings and you forget where certain things are. Seminoles. It's definitely not it. Because I know I gave it to him before I left. Hold on. Last year. Hang on. Yeah, I want to pull this up for you because I think you'll appreciate it since you're. Oh, there it is. I found it. That bad boy right there. By far, one of my favorite pieces I've ever done. Yeah, when he got that, he was not expecting what he got. And then if you're a Thundercats fan, that was the other piece there. Oh, don't let me stop this because since you're an old school fan, this one was the one that kind of closed the deal. Nothing like having a venomized Megatron. That was a lot of fun. Like his concepts, like that he wanted me to do, were spot on. So I was able to create some stuff that I really enjoyed. All right, let me find this RC picture that I just shut down. Where did I put it? There it is. All right. Yeah, I definitely am wanting to see some ideas from people. Like there's like I said, the other day when I was doing my stream, Kay came on and she was like, "Hey, you ever thought about doing the Rocketeer?" And I was like, "No." but I'm gonna because I loved that movie when I was a kid. You know, certain people come up with things like I would love to draw Roger Rabbit. I used to draw him years ago when I was a kid because I loved cartoons. I mean, who does not like Who Framed Roger Rabbit? It's such a unique movie. It's the first time ever that you got Looney Tunes and you have Disney characters together in one world. It was a licensing nightmare, but it actually came together. Yeah, you just let me know when you want to go ahead and do it. I mean, I'd have to go find a. I'm gonna have to go find a Turtles book. I think I can find the Turtles sketch cover. If you want it on a sketch cover, if oh yeah, you'd have to because you're getting it graded. That wouldn't make sense just to get art. All right, so I think we're in a place where we can start getting some of this really cleaned up. Yeah, I didn't. I've told a couple people of something I got coming up, so I'm going to be doing a show. This is the first time I'm actually going to make my own sketch cards, or not sketch cards. I'm making my own Pokemon cards. I've never done it before, but I already have the concept done, and it's pretty dope. So the one thing about Pokemon cards is getting the art to be right. So most people will do the art where they do it on a computer and they print it out, but no, I want it to have my original art. And then you put on top of that, that's where you put all of the stats for that character. So I figured out how to pull that off. And I'm going to be doing them all next week. And then I have a show on the 21st, which is next Saturday. So I have to have them all done. So the sketches and everything will be done this week, and then I'll put all the cards together next week. All right, I think I have everything I need. I just need to get confident, and I need to get her guns. That's what it is. I'm missing. Let me see about getting her guns. RC's guns. Google. Let's go here. Yeah, I don't want to do like basic stuff. I really want, so when you flip it over, it's going to look like a Pokemon card, right? So you'll have the backing of it. So I'm buying a whole bunch of Pokemon cards because I want it to feel like it's authentic. And they're going to be junk Pokemon cards, right? So it's nothing that's going to be of value. So nobody's losing anything. So what it'll end up being is that everybody will get a card. It'll be just like this, right? So you have original art. Actually, let me give you one that's got the color on it. Give you a little bit better of a look. All right, let's just say, for example, you get a card like this, right? So you get this card. Now, these cards are not flimsy. So most Pokemon cards, they have a lot of bend in them. What I do is I'll take a backboard from a comic, so the comic book backboards, I'll cut them down to size like this. So you not only does it give you a good quality card, it's nice and sturdy. And then what's going to end up happening is I'll take the Pokemon card, stick it to the back, so you have that nice, clean, authentic Pokemon rear. Then you'll have the nice, beautiful artwork on the front. The stats will go on top, and then the graphics will be on top of that. So it's literally 3 layers of just beautifulness. And then I'll clip off all the corners, and then it'll look just like a Pokemon card. So those will be just really clean. It's not printed. It's literally the artwork, like physical artwork, which is not usually done when you get those cards. And the cool part is that I can do those on demand and anybody can get one. So The only time that I won't be able to have them physically like in somebody's hands, like I can't do them like right on the spot. I actually have to create all the stats, but I have a template that I do, and I pop in all the stats that I might want to use for that character. Like I'll find general stats for that character. I'll get it all printed out, and then I can then stick all the pieces together, create the custom art card, and we're ready to rock. But next week when I have it on the show, I'm gonna show what the cards look like so everybody can have an idea. So if they want to get one, and I think what I'm gonna do is, because I'm doing a Pokemon series, I'm gonna do all of my Pokemon cards just like that. Okay, so that looks good. I think I'll do that kind of weapon. Yeah, I just want it all to look really insane. My thought process is that if you give somebody something really cool looking, they're going to be down for it. What's up, Bailey? Welcome to the stream. Joseph, what's up? I firmly believe in value. And if you don't give people like the quality and the value that they're looking for, they're never going to, stick on your game. They're never going to stick with you. Let me zoom in here. All right, there we go. So all I'm doing now is I'm just wrapping up her weapon. We're ready to rock. What's going on, Free? So Kendall, did he happen to show off the I think it was a Spawn one I did for him as well? Did he show that one off? I told him once he gets that stuff knocked out, I really want to see what he can pull off with that. Because I know that thing is going to be sick. I gave him a lot of area to work with. Like the Spawn one was crazy. It had so many chains popping out of it. Oh my goodness. It was insane. All right, I think RC's ready to rock and roll. She's ready for ink. What's up, Mello? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Just taking care of this RC piece. So the goal is to go from this to something like this. That's the goal. Non-color, it's more monochromatic. So tool-wise, what I'm using is a Micron 005. And I will move between a 005 all the way up to a 2, depending on what I'm doing. So right now, because I'm working on the face and I want to be really intentional, I try to make sure these lines are very small. What's going on, Sawyer? Welcome to the stream. I am trying to tackle this RC piece. This has been a couple of weeks worth of work, like trying to figure out how to make this one work the best. In addition to doing some work before it. This order was actually brought in before another, but I really was trying to get this one to be right. So I had to do a couple of warm-up pieces beforehand because I'd rather get all the easy stuff out of the way first, so that way my brain can focus like hardcore on the harder stuff. When it comes to drawing Transformers, it is harder because it's a lot of geometric shapes that you have to get right, because if not, it can really throw off the design of your piece. Like if you don't understand perspective and stuff like that, you can really jack up something like this. I mean, for those of you that were late to this stream, like you can see right here, this is one of the areas where you can mess up. Like this leg was right here. Now this would work if her leg was bigger and it was coming at me perspective wise. And I changed some of the angles, but I wanted it thin, like her leg is back, like she already jumped up, and this leg needs to be up a little bit bigger. You know, those kind of things. So I'm thinking through all of those pieces, and I want to make sure that they're correct. And again, I don't want to give somebody a junk piece of artwork. I really work hard to make sure that every piece is quality. And most times what ends up happening, and I found this out with myself, and I've also noticed this with other artists that I follow or that I work with, 9 times out of 10, because they're trying to like really push their process, a lot of people end up getting more than what they paid for. And what you'll also see is like when people get to do the characters that they really enjoy, you're definitely going to get more than what you paid for. And the reason for that is because they really are passionate about those characters. So Mello, what you up to this morning? I mean, case in point, like when I was doing the Spawn piece, well, that sounds fun-ish. Are you getting new furniture in, or are you just moving stuff, so rearranging a room, that kind of thing? Oh, okay. Hey, old is a state of mind, honestly. Unless you're trying to do crazy stuff, then yes, then that's just a state of mind. I always tell everybody that says that they're old, they're just aging gracefully. Because I never tell myself I'm old. I might be hurt, but I'm never going to tell myself I'm old, because then I feel like I'm breaking down, and I'm not doing that. You know, you're manifesting greatness. Yeah, I try to teach my students that too, because a lot of them are very easily discouraged. Ooh. So, question: when was the last time that you drew Spawn? Okay, let's see here. Got to make sure I'm making my right decisions here, because she's starting to look good. Well, Invincible's good. Do you do all the Invincible characters? Because now is a good time to really like get your stock up. Like I would pump that stock up. Like if you were on here and you're selling stuff, I would definitely kick your stock up a lot because, as you know, in March we're going to get Invincible again. So I would say if you can try to get some inventory, get it ready because you can push out a lot. Every time that an episode comes out, the people go nuts for it. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you can get Thrag done, a good one, you're going to sell that thing like crazy. Yeah, Battle Beast. Battle Beast is always consistent because he's a current character. He's killing it. That's good. I mean, that's really, really good. Yeah, I would say if you're able to pull that off, just keep those in your inventory because anytime, for some reason, like the characters on Invincible are just so unique. With the fact that we're going to get to see more conquest and stuff like that, it's definitely going to kick that up. Alan's always a fun one. And the more that we see his story, the better it's going to get. And I commend you on doing Invincible. I mean, there's so many good characters that you can do. I remember one time when I was probably 10 or 12 years ago, when I really wanted to start drawing like my own cards and stuff like that, I said to myself, I want to do all of the Dragon Ball Z characters. And when I started doing my research to figure out all the Dragon Ball Z characters, and this is before like Super came out, we were just talking Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball at this point in time. The insane amount of characters that they've created are ridiculous. Yeah, I'm curious to see how they're going to pull that off. I don't know if I'd really want to. I know it'll be good if they, do it right, but I don't really think it's necessary for them to do a movie. I mean, you already have the TV show out there. I feel like they're wasting resources to pull that off. Yeah, Cell. Well, Cell is great. My favorite character to draw is Majin Buu because I love all the different forms that he had. Cell was the same exact way. He had less forms, but Majin Buu had so many different forms. Plus, with Majin Buu series, that's when you got to see the different versions of like Goku and Goten and all those. Are you talking Great Ape from the? Oh, that's is it Great Ape? Are you talking from Dragon Ball Z? Ah, okay. What's going on, Patrick? Yeah, there were so many that I wanted to do, but I think I got overwhelmed. I was young and, not ready to take on major challenges. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, character design wise, I think they were much better before they got into this like Super and stuff like that. they're getting better. I'm looking forward to this next generation that they're about to put out later on this year. But definitely one of my favorite series. It just took forever because we were in that Japanimation phase where we were doing imports a lot. So being able to translate things from English to from Japanese to English was a bit of a nightmare and time consuming. It's getting better, but it's not like perfect yet. Not that I don't enjoy the original voice overs, the Japanese voiceovers, but my thing is I don't really want to have to read something while I'm trying to enjoy the action. Yeah, I mean, overall, it's got a lot of good themes in there. It's got a lot of family themes in it. It's got a lot of good and evil in terms of like character development. Like Vegeta's whole run of changing who he is really started to happen in that series. He started to let down his guard. His ego started to change. Not completely, but it started to evolve, especially with the fact that he had you know Bulma in there. Yeah, yeah. There's so many like things that were helpful in there. I think the only my only hiccup with that whole series is it took so long to get to a climax. Again, that translation part really made things hard because I'd watch that stuff on Toonami, and you get to that big critical point, and then they'd have to start all over again. You're like, come on, dude. We would make this joke in my class, and I still tell people about this. Like, you would see Goku power up for 5 episodes, and then finally drop the ball. I mean, finally drop it, do it, and then that was all the conclusion. I was like, man, come on, you need to do this better. And then what happened? He charged up, right? He goes against Majin Buu or Cell, and they would just knock the whole power ball away. Like, come on, this is ridiculous. But that was part of the game. Yeah, absolutely. And I think they realized the problem with doing something like that, which is good. I mean, I think that was a good test for them. You got to figure out what your audience wants, and you can't make an anime like you do a manga. Mangas can be multiple pages, but when you're doing it on TV, it's a whole different ball game. And I'm glad they figured that whole thing out. That's why we ended up with getting Super. I'm sorry, no, Kai. Because we were all like, get rid of the filler. Let's get to the meat and potatoes. Yeah, I would love to see that. I have honestly, I stopped collecting that Transformers book because the artist that left. I think it was like Daryl something. He was doing it. Like he did all the books up until like 21 or something like that, or 20. I know he was doing that arc and he finished the arc up, but I'm I'm a big proponent about having people, start and end their series. Yeah, I mean, not having him on that book really threw things off because he has such a visceral, just sketchy style of artwork that worked for that book. Now he might be back on it, but I'm not sure. I just know that when the 20th book came out, it wasn't there. So you know what? Let me just check real quick here. Image. So I'm curious, because I don't want to give you misinformation. Transformers. Let that load up, and then I can see. Um, yeah, his name is Daniel Warren Johnson. That's what it was. Do, 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 do. Why is this not loading the artwork? That's weird. Yeah, he is. I got to give it up to that dude. He is so good. His work is fire. I mean, it is really, really, really good. And I didn't know about it until afterwards. I got late. I got into that book way late. Like I knew it was coming out. In fact, I watched Scotty Young sell the first book with his artwork on there, and I just didn't. I didn't catch on to that. I even have the one that they gave away for free comic book day, and it never dawned on me that I need to really ride into this book. Because I liked it. I don't know why. Because I haven't collected comics, you know, exclusively for a while. Because it got really expensive for me, and I was like, I gotta make choices here. I gotta adult up and figure out what I can, cut out. And comics happen to be one of those, unfortunately. Because I don't collect comics for stories. I collect comics for artwork now. Not that anybody can't do that. I just don't do that. Yeah, I just kind of I like to break apart the designs and like that. Like I like to understand how people think when they're creating stuff. So for me, I kind of go towards certain artists and how they create stories and stuff like that. And I'm not saying like as far as the overall arcing story in terms of reading it. I like to understand it visually. So like I'll buy those books that are called Unwritten. I'll have to check that person out. Um, so there's a lot of books called like Unwritten, and what it is that it's just basically an art book. Jim Lee has a couple of them. I think. Let's see, Unwritten or not Unwritten. It's Mary Wolf or Maria Wolf. Um, I just got one of Hush a couple years ago. I'm going to definitely check it out. But that's the thing. Can you tell me a story without me having to read the panels? That's what every time I like listen to like podcasts or I read articles about editors that are looking for new artists, that's the big thing that I really want to that they really reflect upon. They're like, can I go from panel to panel and be able to read what's going on? And that's a very hard skill to do. But the best people that do it are like if you look at old traditional artists, like if you go back in time and start looking at um like the Jack Kirby's and all those artists of that time, you will see like they break it down how they were able to pull off some of the things that they did, and you can study that. It's like watching film, and that's what I do. I don't really I don't knock modern artists, but the way that they do things, and especially with the fact that we have a lot of modern technology, it takes away a lot of the skill that's needed to do it. Not that there's not skill in using like digital tools, but there's more skill. Yeah, I mean, there's just more skill watching somebody being able to do it by hand, because this is a different thing. Like if you make a mistake on here, you have to figure out how to fix the problem. You can't just erase it. Yeah, I was telling somebody the other day. I said, because we're doing this workout challenge. She goes, "Well, if this one you have to calculate weight and all this kind of good stuff, and just throw it into Chat GPT, and it'll tell you what you need to do in order to get the proper weight." I'm like, "That's cool," but I'm doing it old school because I can like my brain. I need to understand it through like writing it down, that kind of thing. And the same thing is when I draw and when I teach people how to illustrate. I make them use a pen and paper. In fact, like the class that I'm teaching next week, they are literally going to learn how to do silhouette drawing, and they're going to learn how to actually make a character using like the head method, like sizing them up and understanding proportions for a character, so that they can design their own characters. And they're going to understand like shape play and construction, all those kind of things. I mean, I had a guy in my class last week. He plays D&D, and he kind of based his characters off of an adventure that he created in D&D, which is fine. I think that's great because D&D makes you have to use your imagination to create the adventure. All right, harken back to like Stranger Things, right? So we think about that. And he was like, when I draw things and I put all the details in there. And I said to him, "It's like, why do you do that?" He's like, "That's just how I draw." I said, "Do you realize if you think about like if you build a house, if you're building the house, right, when the contractors are building the house and you're putting in furniture as they are building the house, does that make any sense?" And he goes like, "No." I said, "That's the same process you have to follow when you're creating, illustrations. You have to do the construction phase first, get everything in place, and then you can put the pretty on top of that." I mean, when a woman's getting ready to go out to an event, same exact thing. Like, are they trying to put on their makeup and put on clothes at the same time? No, they can't do that. They have to do a process to pull that off. And it's in steps. And as soon as he understood that concept, he was like, "Oh, that makes a lot more sense." But I get it. As a young artist and a young idea maker, we're always just trying to reach the goal, right? We're trying to get to that magic rung. And we're not really considering why we do all of these things. And it takes somebody that has knowledge prior to you to help you like understand it and introduce you to these things. Like my dad was an architect for many years. And he would do things like city planning and stuff like that. And he had to draw out his concept first before it ever went to final. What's going on, Kay? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Thursday to you. But he had to come up with those concepts first before, he was able to bring them to fruition. And the same thing was like when you're doing comics, you don't just go out the gate doing comics, right? You have to get your information from the writer. The writer breaks it down for you, and then you're going to do thumbnails that get approved or disapproved by the editor. And then once the editor gives the thumbs up on all your thumbnails, then you go into your designs. And even at that point, the editor is taking a look at your work and being like, okay, well, that hand's in the wrong position. It doesn't really make sense for this scene. The eyes don't look right. The buildings kind of don't fit the scenery, that kind of thing. So you're getting critiqued on that, and those methods are not being really utilized nowadays. Yeah, I mean, the thing is that good work takes time. And since you've been in the tattoo business, you know this hands down. That's important. Like if you rush somebody's tattoo, you could literally jack up their work, right? And that's permanent. That's one of the reasons why I never got into tattoos, because if I was ever to mess up somebody's work, somebody's body, even if you can get that laser removal, that's still, they're doing the tattoo from you, and then they have to get somebody to remove it or cover it up. And I don't want people covering up my work, so I want to make sure it's right. So when I do stuff like this, or when I train people how to do this kind of stuff, I'm like, listen, you want to be very proud of the work that you do. So if it takes you a week to do a piece of artwork because it's not where it needs to be, communicate that to whomever you're working with and do it the right way. Give them something dope. Yeah, I mean, I've sent out work where I've been, embarrassed by it because I was rushing the job. But I will never do that again, because with age, hopefully, comes some wisdom. And I've used that wisdom nowadays to really push the work that I do. I'm not giving people crappy work. That's just not going to happen here. So, like when yeah, so I mean, you and I are kind of close in age. I'm 47, about to turn 48 in April, and I have used all of my tools, all of my knowledge, and I never stop learning. I learn from people on here how to do certain things. Yeah, I'm an Aries baby, so I'm earlier in the month. I'm on the 4th. You know what? You're close enough. Yeah, I see a lot of artists that come out of that month. Um, but yeah, I utilize all that information and I try to pass it along because it's a lost form. Patience is hard, but it goes back to even just basic skills, right? And when you think about it, if you have kids or you're around kids, you'll see this. So when you and I were younger, we would have Legos, or um, we had our Nintendos, we had our gaming consoles that had batteries, no connection to the internet, just black and white, right? And if we went on a road trip, we would have to have like a drawing pad or a coloring book or something like that, right? So we had to learn patience. I had a kid the other day where we were working on this piece of artwork. It was a string art piece that we're getting ready for a gallery, right? And because it's monotonous, like it's a step and repeat in order to make this pattern. It's kind of like think of like spiral graph, but with string. He's getting frustrated. Like literally, he was doing the same thing for over an hour. And he was just losing his stuff. Like he would get mad. One girl that I was working with in this too. She literally like messed up and she just drops this F bomb just out of the blue. She never does it, but she got frustrated too. And when we were kids, we learned patience. Like even though we got mad at our Nintendo, we learned how to strategize, we learned how to remember things, and that's not being utilized nowadays. The patience level is very, very low. It's all about like now. Give it to me now. And as in art, when I tell people, I'm like, you got to take your time. You got to slow down. You have to figure things out. You have to make mistakes. Bob Ross said it, happy little accidents. It's important to know that and, understand how that works. Yeah, and this is the thing. Like, I love these kids and everything, but I really want to tell them, be like, okay, here's your NES. I'm gonna put it right in front of you. You're gonna play some Zelda. You're gonna put as much time into Zelda as you do that other game that you play on your PlayStation 5. You don't got no internet. There are no books you can look up right now. Like, you don't even have your cell phone. I'm not gonna let you have your computer. You got to figure this out. And the only way that you'll know how to do certain things is that either me or somebody that knows it can tell you how to get through it. That's the stuff that really could piss off somebody. But it's patience and it's strategy. I was watching this study, like they were talking about it, and they're like, when we were kids, we would have game days, right? We'd go over to our friend's house and we would swap the controllers. Like, we would look at somebody and be like, oh yeah, you're really dope at this part, right? I can't, like, for me, I couldn't play Mario Brothers past like a certain point. Like, to this day, as embarrassing as this sounds, I have never beaten the original Super Mario Brothers. And I'm good at games, but I've never beaten that one. I mean, it was so bad. Like, I sold our Mario Brothers because I was so pissed off at it. I couldn't beat it. And my sister and I would play all the time, right? And she's pretty damn bright. Like, she knows how to. She's got pretty good strategy skills, really good hand-eye coordination. But that was one thing that she could always do that I could never do, and I would get frustrated with her. But it wasn't her; it was me. I just could not beat the game. But that's when I would tell her, I'd be like, look, I need you to beat this part for me because I can't do this. Yeah, I mean, I had all the lives. It wasn't the lives part. It was trying to beat Bowser at the very end. I could never beat him. It just was my brain just could not get that to work. No matter how many times I tried to play that game, that just did never ever work for me. But that's the part that, as we go further into our lives, we have to teach people how to do this kind of stuff. We have to teach our kids how to get through things like that. And that's like, when it comes to art, I think it's very important for kids to be able to do art. My dad would introduce me to all sorts of things. Like, he taught me how to paint. He taught me how to do 3D. Like, I would be on a drafting table and all that stuff. And he taught me all that stuff. But yeah, games like Contra is like dope. Contra was my game. Ninja Gaiden, hands down, is my favorite Nintendo game of all time. It holds a very special place in my heart. It is probably the hardest game that I ever played on the Nintendo, next to Mario. Because I did finally beat it. It took me 6 months to beat that game, but when I beat it, nobody told me how to beat it, and it took me a lot of saving to do it. I tell anybody this story. So when I originally got to the last board for the first time ever, it was like 8 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock in the morning, somewhere early before I had to go to school. So I got up super early, got through all the boards, got to the very last, what I thought was the last boss, right? And I stopped. I paused it. I went to school, came home, and the game froze. Like pissed off. I've never beat Mike Tyson's Punch Out either. Mike Tyson used to whoop my butt all the time. Hey, Manic, you have yourself a very blessed Thursday. If you're up here tomorrow, I'll be back on, I think, at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Have a good one. Perfect. I look forward to seeing you. Yeah, Mike Tyson's Punch Out was my a game that I really loved. I love the character design. I remember one time I actually skipped school just so I could play that game. I pretended like I was sick and I was like, I'm on it. And I also did the same thing for Excite Bike too. But I had to stay home with my grandma, and that was not the best time ever because she's old school. So she'd make you sit down. You'd have to stay in your bed, and now she was Southern, so they believed in what we call cod liver oil. Ugh. It was like this thick oil that you would have to drink. It was kind of like vitamin D medicine, but it was gross. It was god awful. But I did get to see some cool movies during that time. I think it was very cool too. I think they really pushed ideas with that. I will say, probably out of the game systems that I had, it was the Genesis and the Nintendo. I feel like that was like my best time as a kid in games. Because you could literally go out, they would make a game pretty much of any license that they could find when it came to Nintendo. Nintendo would make the most random crap that you would ever think. Double Dare, we got you. Okay. You want to go ahead and play as a ninja? All right, we got you. Master Blaster, Mega Man. Oh man, Mega Man's like classic for me. I think Mega Man was the first time, I think, outside of what was it, Metroid, where they actually started introducing codes to get through things. Like you'd have to actually manually put them in, not like with Contra where you do the up, down, down, that kind of thing. But you had code screens. Yeah, I remember my dad came in clutch on this. So I remember when they finally released the arcade version, the walkthrough one that you would play. And I found out about it on Nintendo Power, and I was like, I really want this game. And my dad somehow found it at a store and got it for me. They gave it to me literally as my last gift. They're like, here, this is for you. And I got it. I'm like, this is awesome. Like knowing the fact that you could play all the turtles, in a walkthrough, that was great. Beating Krang at the very end, yeah, that was absolutely worth it. Yeah, I didn't like so much the one that they created for the NES. I didn't like that one so much because I thought the game was really hard. It was very different from the arcade version. Like, I remember everybody was, having the hardest time going underneath the water and trying to beat the bomb. That was like you had to switch turtles and all this kind of stuff. It was a lot. The original Double Dragon, yes. The other ones, not so much. What's going on, Rob? Yeah, Double Dragon was a lot of fun. I'm trying to think of another one that I really liked. I like Master Blaster. That was fun. Mario Brothers 3 was insane. Yeah, we're talking old school NES games. Yeah, Castlevania for sure. Yes. How about Rad Racer? That's the first time that you could like use the Power Glove. I mean, you can never forget Duck Hunt. That's an epic classic. Yeah, Nintendo definitely brought their A game. Yeah, yeah, that RC Pro Am game. You had to. I mean, talk about like the start to Mario Kart. That was fun. That's literally what it was, but top down. They were so good at creating good games. I just wish we could get some stuff like that again. I get the fact that we're trying to push limits for design and open world play, but sometimes you got to go back to basic stuff, like things like Cuphead and stuff like that makes sense because it's just like a side scroller. It's perfect. I think I've got everything in place to start going and getting all this stuff done. She looks good. I'm happy with her. Time to go and start putting in the grays, and I'm going to send this beast out today. Oh, by the way, here's some of my characters that I get to draw for Pokemon. I'm looking for that. These are my top 14. I'm probably going to get up to 20 for that one. It's going to be fun. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I try to keep it as clean as possible. On my bigger pieces, I do like really solid work. Yeah, doing line art, it can be a bit taxing, but it's all about going slow, taking your time. If you rush it, you're definitely going to have problems. And I don't rush it at all. So which version? Oh, no, hang on one second. Kendall, did you say you're working on a spawn today? Let me turn this span down. Oh, I need to do all off. There we go. Sorry, I gotta grab my colors here. I need that one. This one. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I thought that was the case. I was flipping back between the two of you, so I wasn't sure. Reading messages as I'm trying to work. All right, so this guy. All right, so the goal is again to get these gray tones. Gotcha. Now, I need to get rid of all of my pencil marks first. Now, I'll probably go over some of those with my Copics, but for the most part, I'm going to try to get at least the graphite ones out of the way. The blue ones are not such a big problem. It's the graphite. So you don't want your graphite mixing with your Copics. That's the big part. So going back to video games, I wish, like I asked my parents back in the day for consoles, right? Well, cool. I'm looking forward. Hopefully, I'll get to see your comic. I really am looking forward to that. If you put it out, I will definitely I'll be a fan to get it. So hopefully, if you do some crowdfunding, let us know, and then we can. I'll promote it as well as support it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start laying down. I think I'm going to lay down the most basic color first. Yeah, which is my light color. This will be for her lighter parts. We're going to go shadow on the left. That's the main part. It's my preferred side that I like to use. So anything that's pink on her will end up having the purple color. Anything that's not pink will have this gray tone. That's the goal. Yeah, I tried, like when I was a kid, I don't know if you remember this or not, but we used to rent gaming consoles. So for the longest, I would try to tell my parents, I'm like, perfect, I'm down. I'm definitely down. I used to try to talk my dad into letting me get a Super Nintendo when it first came out. And my dad was very practical. He's the one when Nintendo came out, right? And it was the big console. Sega Genesis came out relatively close to it, right? And we went into a Sam's, kind of like it's almost like a Costco. And I saw Sonic, and I just couldn't stop playing it because it was so different than playing Mario. Like they had both consoles there, so they had a TV with the Nintendo, and then they had a TV with Sonic, and I ended up playing more Sonic than I did the Nintendo because it was fast. It wasn't just basically collecting coins, and my dad caught on to that. So my parents ended up getting me and my sister a Sega Genesis instead of a Nintendo that year. And I was such a brat. I really didn't like it at first because everybody else had the Nintendo and nobody else had the Sega Genesis. So I couldn't play the same games like everybody else did. I couldn't trade my games at the time like all my friends would. And that kind of sucked. And however, my dad was ahead of the game because he explained it to me, because computers and stuff like that made a lot more sense. He's like, look, that's an 8-bit console. This guy over here is 16-bit, so you get more information, so you're able to play better quality games. That's why the colors and everything look way better. And you're going to get more of that arcade style. So my dad was so ahead of the game. Yeah, and those were the things. Like my dad was a forward thinker, so he already knew. So when Mortal Kombat did come out, as we all know, Mortal Kombat didn't come out on the NES first. It came out on the Sega Genesis, so I could play it at that point in time. whereas most other people couldn't. Like there were very few people that could get it, and that was a benefit. And when we finally did get our stuff, when we did get an NES the following year, I ended up keeping the Genesis, and my sister got to keep the Nintendo because I thought the Genesis was better. That's how I was able to like get Shinobi, and I was able to get Pit Fighter and stuff like that. And I couldn't do that. And the games actually were cheaper for the NES. I'm sorry, for the Genesis than they were um for the NES. You know, I could get Pit Fighter, like I said, I could get Fatal Fury. Mortal Kombat was huge during that time. Like we had Mortal Kombat tournaments and stuff like that. Yeah, so all of the a majority of the arcade games, like the high end games that would come on like Neo Geo and stuff like that, they were able to be put on the Sega Genesis as well. I mean, let's be honest. We got Moonwalker on the Genesis. You couldn't do that on the NES. I wish we could have, but it just was not happening. This is gonna have to be darker in here. Yeah, I mean, I got Earthworm Jim on that one. I think I got Aladdin on there. So many plus games on that console. I mean, I wish I could have gotten the Super Nintendo. I never got one. I never got a GameCube. But I did ended up I the first console that I personally ever bought was the PlayStation. And that was worth every dime that I spent on it. What's going on, Jose? When I got my PlayStation, it was the first console that I ever saved money for. And I think it was I gave my dad my check. Like I gave him two checks in order to get it at the time. He took the checks and he had his card or he did cash, something like that. I can't remember one of the two. But I went to KB Toy Stores, and the only reason I bought the PlayStation was because I wanted to be able to play Final Fantasy VII. I saw the commercials for it, and that was the reason why I bought that console. And Final Fantasy VII is and still to this day, I believe, is my favorite game of all time. Because one, it was a good balance between understanding how to strategize and the perfect mix of an adventure. Like Final Fantasy had always had those things, right? But it also had um, the 3D um, videos as well. So seeing Sephiroth and seeing the battles between him and all those characters, it was just great. Watching the um, was it the spells that you would cast were amazing. Seeing all the different characters that you had, from Vincent to what was it, 8 or 13, whatever those characters were. All of them were fantastic. The summon spells were probably one of the coolest things. The side quests were even better. Like the Chocobo races and stuff like that, and understanding how to do that and how to get the top summons, all that was fun. And just the world that they created. you'd have to switch between the three. I'm sorry, not switch. You'd have to use all three discs. No, there was no internet-based one. There was nothing on a drive. It was all disc-based, so you had to get through each disc in order to get to the adventure. Like you couldn't go to disc 2 unless you completed disc 1. So that was fun. Yeah, I mean, all of those. I mean, for that period of time, were probably the best games that we had. Yeah, I think I played my system until it broke. I know I did that with my PlayStation 3. But God of War is another one of those, like God of War, Prince of Persia, Need for Speed. Every one of those were just games I couldn't stop playing. Like I would try to get all the achievements. And again, it's pre-internet stuff. So for me, that's what made it fun. I liked the fact that we had times when we had to have people around us in order to, do our stuff. This online co-op play, don't get me wrong, it's nice that we're able to talk to people internationally, but um, or across states, but there's something to be had when you get to see people face to face. That's why tournaments are so good. Like when they do these gaming tournaments, when these people go head to head and they see each other face to face, it creates this different kind of rivalry. Like it's way different to be able to talk shit to somebody in their face as opposed to online, because then people know if you're serious or not. Yeah, because it's very easy to be a keyboard cowboy or a cowgirl. It's a lot harder to do it when you have that person right there. 100%. Because then you find out, okay, well, this person I was talking to is just this little kid versus this, person that I thought they were based upon their screen name. Yeah, you learn a lot really fast. Yeah, that's why I advocate for in person stuff. I think this is a great medium, like as far as like this particular thing, but as far as like you know conventions and stuff like that. Because I was just talking to somebody about this the other day. So I feel like conventions have kind of lost their way. They're more like a money grab versus the fan experience. We were talking about this convention that we have here in Florida. It's called MegaCon, and this is I've seen in other conventions, but specifically to this one. So MegaCon, you used to be able to buy a ticket for like I think like $40 to $50 for the day, right? And you could go there and you could literally have like a good day's worth of fun, right? You could go ahead and do the fan events, and they were reasonable. You could go there for a day, do a lot of the fan events, and spend maybe $100, right? And this is including like doing photo ops. Now you go there and try to do that stuff, and you're out $600 before you even walk in the door. The booths. Like if you wanted to be an artist at a booth, that's expensive. And for these particular conventions, I mean, they're asking like $600, $700 for a table that's not even a 10 by 10. We're talking like 6 feet. And because they've opened up this convention so much, um, there was one time, and I think that this is still happening. They had like over 100,000 people in this convention center. So when you go down Artist Alley, you are literally being like pushed through Artist Alley, and this is on a Saturday. And we all know that for conventions, Saturday is the day because that's when you have the most people. And when you have people getting corralled through Artist Alley and you don't even they can't even see your art, that's a problem. And the convention, I don't know if the convention people are listening to their people, but that's an issue for me, and that's why I will probably never go back to this convention until they change that. Because I would love to be in that arena. I mean, between money and all that stuff, you don't break even unless you're doing it. I mean, unless you have to have like a huge following, and that's a following outside of the con. Yeah, I mean, MegaCon was. I mean, even when I went last time, I mean, I went after COVID, right? I think I went the year after COVID happened, maybe 2 years, and it was just so hard. People trying to find people in that convention is just insane. Last year we went, and it was way better. It was a much better experience because I didn't go on a busy day. I went on a Friday. We were able to see tons of celebrities. We got to see, Todd McFarlane there. We saw um, Marina Baccarat. She's the lady from Deadpool. We got to see Mark Paul Gosselaar and a whole other slew of other people. But that's because we changed the day that we were going to go. And it just made for a better fan experience. And I would tell anybody, I mean, if they can kind of make it so that happens, then it's going to be a lot better of a ride for people. And make the pricing a lot better. That's another thing. It needs to be reasonable. Because then if you keep doing that, you're going to X out all these other, cool talents that are trying to get their name out there, and they can't do it because they can't afford to do it. I mean, I've stayed local because price wise, I can get a local booth and I could spend way less money. I could literally drive down the road from my house and I can make more money locally than I can going out of town. Because if I go out of town, I have to do a hotel. For me, when I go out of town, I don't eat a lot, so it's not for me. But whoever I bring with me, I got to make sure that they're fed. And if you go out to a restaurant or if you're getting food from the con, that's money taken away from your profits. So there's some good things and bad things to the cons. I feel like they're doing better being able to bring in better talent. Bringing in the cast of Daredevil Reborn or Rebirth or whatever it's called, that was cool the year that they did that. They did a really fantastic job pulling that one off. I quite enjoyed that. Seeing Todd McFarlane at MegaCon last year, that was probably like one of my biggest geek out moments of all time. And my wife actually pushed that one because I told her about it. And the weird part was is she saw it online. She goes like, this guy, right? You know who this person is? I'm like, yeah. Of course I do. And she's like, well, we're going, right? And I was on the fence because I didn't want to spend the money to go, because I like to be in the experience. Like, I like to do the art. She's like, you just got to enjoy it. Just come on out. We'll go. And I was still on the fence. So she ended up buying the tickets. She bought me like this little package where I got a T-shirt, I got a lanyard, and all this stuff. And then, she's not really a morning person. However, she uh, embraced it, and we got up there super early. We got great parking, and she waited in line with me for like almost 2 hours just so we could get front row of the Todd McFarlane Experience. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel like he is literally the person that you see in interviews. What you see is what you've gotten over the years. Now, I think he's kind of like throttled back a little bit because he's kind of, you know, he's learned the lessons, and he's a more of a gristled person. He kind of knows where he is, and he's hit his achievements, and now it's all about giving back. So that's the part I love about meeting that person. Yeah, my wife is dope. Yeah, she definitely hooked it up. Yeah, I really wanted to meet him like face to face. I tried to get into the lottery and everything, but that lottery was not happening. I tried to talk somebody in to let me in the line, and that just didn't work out either. But being able to be within 6 feet of this person and listening to his story. Now, mind you, he has probably told the story tons and tons of times, but really hearing it from him, there's a little bit of a different flair. Yeah, I mean, being able to meet somebody that was from that era and knowing their story, and having actually, growing up, having seen that his growth, seeing him really being one of the pioneers of that era was really cool. But him walking walking people through what he went through beyond the stuff that we read in articles and stuff like that is really neat. Like, I went in there already, like, I knew a whole bunch of his story, but I really wanted to meet him. I really wanted to hear from him, because you learn a lot when you get to hear somebody speak. And he had a lot to say. In fact, when he was up there, he went way past his time, and the people that were there were getting frustrated with him. He was late to his signing because he stayed an extra 15 minutes just to walk us through stuff. And this year, I'm trying to see if I can get to see Jim Lee, but I chose not to because he's only coming in on a Saturday, and I don't want to go there for that. I really wanted to buy. I almost pulled the trigger and bought the tickets, but I was like, no, I don't. I really, absolutely do not want to be in that arena to deal with that on a Saturday at all. It's not worth it to me. She's coming out good. I like it. Yeah, I mean, I will never not want to go to a convention. There's other ones that I'd rather go to, but right now I'm kind of focused on doing convention stuff for myself and trying to kind of like build my path. So that's where I'd rather put my money into. Look, if it took me 30 years to finally meet Todd McFarlane, I can wait a few more years to see Jim Lee. He's been to Florida a few times, so I know he'll come back. Or, I could catch him in a different city. I know he visits more conventions than Todd McFarlane does. So I know I'll probably see him. Yeah, that's one that I would definitely go to. And I would go to NYC only because NYC actually has more to it than what MegaCon is. MegaCon's really more of a like art and stuff like that, whereas I know um, New York Comic Con has a little bit more of the movie element in it. It's very close to that of the San Diego Con, so I would definitely much more want to do that. Yeah, San Diego is definitely one I want to do. I think I saw one that there's like a California or LA con that I saw. But we have one down here. It's called Florida SuperCon, um, and I'm going to do that one again in the next couple of years once I kind of get my portfolio up a little bit more, and definitely do that. Yeah, I'd much prefer to put my energy into trying to build my gallery up. I want to get my graphic novel done first before I really start cooking. I'm trying. My goal is, as much as I love this fan art stuff, I want to use the fan art secondarily and really get my work out there. The reason for that is that my eye, and I know a lot of other people that this happens to, my eye goes to things that are not the typical fan art stuff. So when I buy artwork, because I don't buy a lot of artwork at all, I will buy artists' work like that they do as far as like original artwork. There's a guy that did graffiti styled comics, and I ended up buying some stuff off of him because I loved what he was doing. The designs were cool. They had really good flow, and it wasn't fan art because it was stuff that I hadn't seen before. And that kind of stuff catches my eye. And I'd rather put my work out there versus, not that I wouldn't promote, Marvel and all that stuff, doing it through fan art, but if I'm able to, get my stuff out there, that's the better way to go. Yeah, SuperCon is great. I've always had a good experience at SuperCon. I told the story. I got to meet like Kevin Nash actually hit on one of my best friend's wives. Tried to take her out. Yeah, I just it doesn't make sense to do what everybody else is doing. If you have additional stuff, you'll be a standout. That's why cons worked so good back in their early days because you could go to Artist Alley and you could meet all these different artists that did different things. They weren't all like, walls of prints of, characters that we know. I hate that. Like for me, I don't need to see a wall of prints. Like if you have stuff like art wise that's really cool, I'm down. I'm like that's really neat to see. And if you happen to have some prints on top of that, then I'm gonna check that out too. And again, you're gonna have different strokes for different folks, but I want to see something very different. I like independent books. One of the guys that I ran into, his name is Otis. I just happened to meet him, or Walter Otis. I met him when I was at MegaCon one year, and he had this very funky style. It almost kind of reminded me of like Eon Flux in a way, but cartoony. So he did, like, when Kickstarter was first in its like first few years of being out there, he kickstarted his own book, and I bought it. And the cool part was is inside the book, he literally wrote down his entire process of how he created the book. So it was literally a manual of how to, pull things off. So he gave his whole timeline and all this kind of cool stuff. So I learned a lot just from that book. And I would never have gotten that experience if I had gone over to somebody that had done like a whole bunch of prints of like Ninja Turtles or something like that. I would have never gotten that same experience at all. Yeah, and that should be the way. That should definitely be what it's about. Listen, you can either, work off the back of other people, or you can pave your own way. And I'll be honest with you, I love when I see people doing their own thing. Like your book, Jose, that you worked on, I think that's really cool. Because at the end of the day, if somebody was to go like, hey, you know what? You can't do that anymore. Like literally Marvel could go to every person that's at a convention and be like, all right, that's a cease and desist, cease and desist, cease and desist. They could literally do that. They really could. They don't, because that what people are doing is, helping their product, but they could. Whereas with your book, they can't do that because they don't own it. They have no rights to it at all. Oh man, RC looks great. It's got to pump up those lines. Well, that's the part that people don't catch on to. Wow, I just burnt almost 2 hours really fast. Did not mean to do that. It's okay. I'm good on time. Gonna put in this blue and we'll be good to go. Sharpen that. Yeah, I can finally send this guy out to the mail today. That's my goal. Glad I hit my goal. Yeah, I mean that, and again, that's age with wisdom, right? I know people that can have so many of one thing, right? But if you get that book that people, are not used to seeing, they're gonna look at that thing over and over again. Well, the wisdom does come. The best part of the wisdom part is passing the information on. That's the biggest part of the wisdom piece. Taking your knowledge and passing it on to the next generation. So whether it be your kids or other adults, that's how you pull. That's the wisdom part. Yeah, and the bad part is like a lot of these kids nowadays, they don't share that information, like their techniques and all that stuff, because they don't want anybody stealing what they did. But really, what have you done that you're holding off? I mean, holding on to. If you share it with somebody, they're playing catch up, right? You've already done it. Yeah, that's why I tell people, I'm like, why are you hoarding this information? you're already off to the next thing. I mean, they're 2 steps behind you. And the benefit of it, like teaching people how to do what you do, is this: once you teach them how to do it, now you have competition, and the competition breeds new things. So why don't you do that? Why don't you help, help yourself? Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I mean, I really feel like that piece of just sharing the knowledge that you have and showing good techniques. That's one of the reasons why I got into teaching, is so that way I could teach people how to do these older methods, because you need to have the art forms and the fundamentals in place before you can move on to the next thing. Good artists realize that things take time. That's why I think like older animation, and this is why I love old animation and the anime, not just our Americanized stuff, but when I look at, classic artwork, when I see stuff that's like hand drawn, it has a different feeling to it. You can tell the energy is different on a animated stuff, like hand drawn cell work, versus something that's been on a computer. The feeling is completely different. When you watch Ninja Scroll or Akira, you can tell. Spirited Away. I mean, they're so distinctly different than watching like this modern day anime or modern day artwork. The feel is different. That's why, if you take a look at it, if you take a look at Into the Spider Verse or Across the Spider Verse, the styling of artwork that they chose was more of a illustrative look to it. It's got an illustrative feel to it, and it has a different feel to it, hands down. You know, it looks and feels way different. And a lot of cartoons and a lot of shows are going to that method because the tone is different. I mean, if you look at that movie that they have coming out this weekend, it's called The GOAT, the one based on Steph Curry. That one has the same exact style. This painterly style works because it looks like it's illustrated. It looks like it's got that timeless feeling to it. And it does. Because creating that is not easy. It's artwork. And there are other movies doing it before these two got popular. I mean, Charlie Brown did it years prior. But I like seeing stuff like that. I like passing on that information, and you have to show people how to do it. They have to understand these fundamental skills, or you're going to just have generic shit that just keeps on coming out. The best way to do it is like if you're ever teaching somebody how to do artwork, you say, "Hey, you don't get all the tools. You don't get your phone, you don't get your tablet, any of that stuff. You have to go old school. Here are your books for references. Here are your pencil and paper, an eraser, a ruler if you need it, and now you got to create something." And that patience and skill will breed quality work, or it won't breed anything at all. People get creative when they have limited resources. Sorry, just trying to bump up these lines so that way she doesn't look so flat. So yeah, I mean, just it makes her look like she's, you know. popped out a little bit more. Works well against the color. Not overdoing it with these colors. You know, and the best part, like going back to your comic, right? And going to cons and telling people about it. The cool part to that is that when you are able to sell your own work at a convention, you can tell your story. You're not telling somebody else's story. You're telling what you went through. Because a lot of people ask questions. What made you think of this? Why did you choose these designs? Where did this come from? You know, those kind of things. And you can now tell your story and you're now building value into what you've done. Try to do that with prints. That doesn't work the same. What made you think of this? They don't ask those questions. They're just like, I want that one. I want this one. I want that one. That one looks really cool. What's going on, Joey? You know, and I realize these things like as we go further. Yeah, and the thing is that when you have that interaction, right, with those customers, they'll go to their friends. They'll sit because this is what I've seen happen. They'll go sit down at a in the food court, right? Or they'll even go back to their hotel and be like, "Hey, what'd you get?" And they'll show off their stuff and be like, "Hey, yeah, I talked to Jose. He's a really dope dude. You know, he created this book. It took him about X amount of years to pull off, and all this kind of good stuff." And they know your story. Now you have the potential of getting another customer based upon the interaction that you had with the first one. And you would not have had that if you were just doing print stuff. And I can tell you that hands down. When I talk to people, because I do have prints and I do have original art, when they go through my artwork, right? Then they can be like, "Oh, okay, well, your artwork is very clean. You use certain lines. What made you think about doing this?" And because I have that little bit of time, I'm able to open up the conversation. And I've had people come to me and offer me like job opportunities and stuff like that only because we were able to talk. What's going on, Loans? And people don't realize that. Like, there's so much more that you can get out of it. A lot of the people that I see that are doing like these large scale prints and stuff like that, um, or just mass producing other people's stuff, they don't have that kind of feel. They don't have that kind of punch, and their sales waver. But that again, that comes with having been in that arena, having to understand that, and you got to pass on that knowledge to people because if you get more original art out there, then you create a more competitive market. The reason why all these cons look the same is because you literally have the same people going from con to con selling the same shit, and it's boring. I'd rather see new people's artwork. Like, I want to see custom stuff. I want to see unique stuff. I want to see a new comic out there. Like, there's this guy Sean Agri that I would have never ever um known unless I had seen his work at a con. But I saw him do a piece. It was this Omega Red, and I know it's online because I just saw it again on Pinterest. But he did this piece, and his stuff has so much energy. It's insane. But he would draw his own stuff first. Like, you would see his own stuff first, and then you would see the fan art stuff that he would do. But his work was so unique. I think she is Dunzo. Like, she is in the can. Outside of doing the outside work, I think I've got her done. Like the only piece that I literally have to do is just do her outline. I think she's good. So what I do to make her pop is I grab a warm number 3. Yeah, I think she came out really good. I'm happy with her. So I grab this warm number 3 and just go around her. That way she looks like she's like a sticker. Thank you. I knew once I kind of figured out some things, she would be right. And I think next week I get to go back to cards. And I'm doing custom Pokemon cards next week. I have a list of, I think, 13 characters now, and then I'm going to pump that up to 20. But I got to work fast. It'll probably be my fastest set of cards I've had to work on all this period. And the good part is a lot of them are on my list, so that'll take care of some of the people on my Pokemon list, which helps go to the 1,000 cards that I got to get done. And I'm hoping at this show that these will be like my signature piece that I do, and people will just be like, yes, that is dope. Let me have more of those. Yeah, I think I am one of maybe 2, possibly 3 artists that will be at this show. Most of the people that are going to be at the Pokemon show are there buying and selling Pokemon. So having custom cards that you can have made right on the spot, I think is going to be definitely a niche for me and my buddy that are going to be there. No, I have not. Is that person on here? I think I'm going to put a little bit of this on the inside of the handle. Okay, I'm going to definitely take a look. I'll write that down as soon as I finish this up so that way I can take a look. I just realized I missed a couple things, so I got to fix those pieces. All right, so this is going to go on the inside of the pistol. And then we'll go over with some cool gray number 3. So this will darken this up a little bit. Yeah, there we go. That's what I wanted. Do I like that? Yeah, I think we're going to go a little hair darker. So that was 3. We're going to go 5. That way it doesn't blend in so much with the fingers. That's better. And then we'll get this piece here and that piece there. And then the piece that I did miss is this right here. So she's got a glow that's right in here and then a glow piece in here. Just these little minute things that, you don't want to miss when you're doing those pieces. Okay. I think I'm good to go on this one. Let me write down this person's name really quickly here before I go. Jason Hall. Okay. So I think we are at the finish line of this piece. I don't think there's much more I got to do. So I think if I do anything else, it's just going to mess it up. I really want this to be like super clean. Yeah, I think she's good. All right. Okay, guys. Well, that's a wrap for today. I will be back tomorrow at, I think, 8 o'clock in the morning. And we'll be back to sketch cards. You do the same. Nice seeing you guys. Have a great Thursday, and I will talk to you later. Have a good one.